Hi, I'm Joy Mangano, and this is my Roly Kit. It's an amazing high-tech storage system. You can toss it around, shake it up, and everything stays in place.
Oh, don't worry. I've got one. Oh my god, I'm so disproportionately excited. This is so sad. Storage solutions in your 30s, man. Nothing hits like it. Oh my lordy. This is the most insane storage solution I have ever seen. You kind of pick it up and like punch with it. It feels like a little gym weight. I have been looking for a solution for storing all of my little sewing kit bits. If you're new here, I've been teaching myself to sew because I'm trying to be more sustainable and understand the labour and the love that goes into clothes and not just take them for granted. So, as you can imagine, buying a new storage solution, like that's probably made out of like pleather or plastic, to store all that stuff in felt a little bit ironic. So when I saw this shared all around my social media feeds, I was like, I have to see. Look at that cross section, that's wild. So I am going to tell you a little bit more. Oh my god, I'm so excited. There are so many compartments. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this very special storage solution, whilst you enjoy the B-roll of me unpacking all of my sewing chaos, which isn't just in here, it's also in some drawers upstairs and hidden all around the house. Try and pack it all into this little gadget and see what we can learn, either practically or philosophically. I fear that maybe we all need one of these. Let's go. So this is the Roly Kit. It's like a hexagonal roll-up storage system. It was invented in 1973 by a filmmaker called Samuel Mayring. If you think it kind of looks like a rolled up painter's brush palette or like a makeup palette or like an old school makeup artist's brush roll up, you'd be correct. That is what it is based on. Mayring was essentially supposed to be working on a film script, but he couldn't concentrate because his desk was completely cluttered. So potentially why I gel so well with this product is that it was ultimately the product of procrastination, my spiritual home. He made one himself out of cardboard as a prototype. And the reason that not everything needs a lid is because you're supposed to roll it up on the floor. So like gravity takes charge of that for you. Every compartment is only accessible when it's completely flat on a surface. So the bottom of each compartment becomes the lid for the next one. Does that make sense? Mayring was Dutch, and I believe they started selling it in the Netherlands first, and when it went worldwide and American distributors got hold of it and it went on CVS and it like showed those adverts like we showed at the beginning of the video, it sold 17 million Roly Kits. There are 17 million of these in existence. Let that sink in. Joy Mangano, who was one of the women who was credited as bringing it over to the US and making it the success that it was over there, said that it's kind of the reason she thinks it was so incredibly successful is that everybody has a junk drawer. The drawer where you throw everything, pencils, pens, batteries, ribbons, thread, plasters, buttons, like all of that kind of crap that you're like, where does this even go? And when you open it up, everything jangles and it becomes really overwhelming. But if we could roll up our junk drawers and see everything, then we know what we have and we can appreciate it more. More and more as I've gone through my #sustainability journey and I've learned a little bit more about why we overconsume, I think some of it, and this is a massive call out to myself, is about the management of stuff, like how much comes in and how much goes out, and what is actually in our lives and how much we know about the stuff that we own. So the great mystery really is why these things stopped being produced. Ultimately, the company who made them stopped functioning, but that seems to be all I can find on the internet about why these things are no longer in production. And I can't help but think that perhaps they were just too useful, that people had them, bought them, kept them, used them, and there was no reason for them to be replaced. And therefore with big companies, they expect big turnovers and they don't make room for people just loving products and appreciating them and consuming them slowly and not having a model of planned obsolescence. That's my only clue as to why these aren't being made anymore. Either way, I am so glad I have found one, and I'm absolutely made up about the results. Well, that was possibly the best hour of my life. Everything fits. I mean, a few things didn't fit, but they were ultimately things that don't actually belong in my sewing kit. For example, I have these pom-pom makers, which, like, if they belong anywhere, is probably with my knitting, isn't it? 2 sustainability wins that I think I've already seen from organising these. The first one being that when everything is out and you see it regularly, you know what you have. So if I'd had this earlier, ultimately, I wouldn't have ended up buying 2 spools of the same colour thread or multiples of the same size elastic, which I'm now excited to use up. The other thing was, while sometimes it's nice to separate things in little plastic bags, ultimately I really don't need those tiny containers that things are sold in. And I think if we had more storage like this, it'd be much easier to buy things without any packaging, pop it in your pocket, and when you get it home you just pop it in one of these. We're often sold things in plastic boxes or very sturdy plastic bags, which seems like really nice and luxurious when you're buying it, but ultimately this renders those kinds of things useless, and thank goodness. I'm picturing like a zero waste store, but instead of food it's sewing, and you can just buy, like, you can do that with buttons, but ultimately there's a lot of stuff that still comes in packaging in the sewing world that I didn't realise when I had before I sewed, and now I'm like, we wouldn't need it if everybody had one of these. This is really hurting my back, so I think I'm going to sit up and show you a few of the little things. I don't get to show you my sewing kit very often, so I thought maybe for those of you who are curious, I'd show you a few things that I really like in my little sewing kit that I've built up over the years. So this is the biggest compartment, and I've realised that that closes like that, so I could actually heaped fit a lot more in there than I have. I've just got my pins, more pins, some clasps, and poppers, more pins, label glue for when you want to label, like you stick your fabric labels in and then you can sew them, and it's water soluble, so it stays still while you sew it in, basically. My sewing clips that I got from Vinted. So much sewing equipment on Vinted, you really don't need to buy anything new. It's all there already. And of course, my sacred sewing scissors, which has to be hidden from the rest of the world so people don't blunt them by using them for paper. Hell knows no wrath like a sewist whose sewing scissors have been used on paper. Let's roll it up as we go, actually. Okay, so that's the first, stay in there. So that's the first compartment shut. Then in here, I realised that these little, why have I forgotten the name for these? These things, bobbins that go in your sewing machine. I have tons of these and they fit perfectly in here. What the hell? So I'm going to get some more of those out and put them there. But for now, I've put some, this is the thread that's more used. And then it goes like that. Oh, this is so satisfying, I can't even explain. Then in here, I've got, okay, I can explain. This is not an essential sewing item, but I just found it in an antique shop and I bloody loved it. And I use it to push out the corners of things, or like the curves of necklines, or like, anyway. Just believe me when I tell you it's essential. This thing, which is for pattern designing, I don't know, I got it in a kit, I haven't used that yet. My snips. This is for if you want to cut stuff up, but it takes you like a while to get your fingers in because you're constantly cutting stuff in sewing. So to have like scissors, basically really sharp scissors on a little spring, so you don't have to put your fingers into a fiddly bit of scissors. Love those. I call this my sin tool for all the sins that I do, so I can unpick my sins. If only there was one of those for the actual emotional actions I inflict on the world every day. Rotary cutter. Very important. Different coloured chalk so you can mark fabric in different colours and it shows up. Measuring tapes, a little bit of rickrack that I have no idea what I'm going to do with, but it's pretty. Bias binding tape makers so you can make your own bias binding. A tiny little thimble with Queen Victoria's face on it. For an anti-royalist, I actually have a lot of secondhand royalist merch. I don't know what it is. There's something like filthy about it. I just want it. Miscellaneous buttons that have come to me through mysterious ways but are all really beautiful. Some more buttons, and these are like buttons that come with pieces of clothing, safety pins, various types of elastic, more thread than I know what to do with, some elastic thread for shearing, some spare blades for my rotary cutter, all of my little fabric labels that go in the back of my makes, like this one, and these ones that my friend Sana got me that have my name on them. Different threads for darning, some miscellaneous patches that I've never put on anything, but I should. More miscellaneous thread and darning stuff. I have loads of these tiny iron-on heart patches. I kind of want to put one on everything I make as like my little signature thing. And then at the end, a shit ton of zips. And these things, which are a recent purchase and I'm really excited about, are things that, so you can like flip out straps, tiny straps that you make and turn them inside out without you wanting to scratch your own eyeballs out, which is an experience that I have had. Now, let's see if it rolls up. Ugh. Moment of truth. So far, so good. Oh, it feels so, those clicks, they're so satisfying. Yep, okay. By the way, gravity only works with this because you have to lie it flat. If you don't lie it flat, everything goes bad. Don't do it. And then wait for that. Oh, was that not the best sound you've ever heard in your entire fucking life? What a great purchase. Let's debrief. I think it's safe to say that me and the Roly Kit are a little bit inseparable, and I'm really heartened not only to see something vintage that you can only get secondhand go a little bit viral, and therefore those things that might have otherwise just been forgotten in garages being used and getting new homes, but also that it freaking works. That it's good, that it's better than most modern solutions I've seen for storage for little hobbies like this. And how, like I said out there are loads of like sustainable benefits to organising your stuff like this as well, not least that it fits in a really small space. And the boomers that bought these the first time round probably have more storage space than the millennials and the Gen Zs who need them. Ultimately, I think there's 3 lessons I'm going to take away from my introduction to the Roly Kit and my inevitable ongoing obsessive use of it and gushing about it to all my friends every time they come around. This is going to be like how other people show their houseplants or their vases or their antiques. I'm going to be like, do you want to see my Roly Kit? First lesson, capitalism doesn't work. As if we didn't already know it, but I mean, if capitalism worked, how could this ever go out of business? Like, how could this have ever not, like, stopped being produced? I hate the idea that capitalism ultimately makes things that people really need and will find useful, because it's just not the case. And I think having little examples like this to pull out of the hat is incredibly useful and a great way to thread that fact into the conversations with your friends and family. Secondly, one of the really good things about this case, and I think what's made it last this long, is that it's plastic. And I think you might be surprised to hear me say that, but I don't think that all plastic use is bad. If you're using plastic to make something incredibly durable and light that is intended to last forever, and you're buying it secondhand, I think that's incredible. This is plastic, but it's not disposable. And I think that, again, there's this idea that your eco-friendly lifestyle has to look eco-friendly, and if it, like, the visuals of plastics don't work with that. But the sad fact is we've already made so much plastic that we need those things to be in our homes. We don't need to go out and buy new stuff if we can avoid it, but the adaptation of old plastic still into our houses so that it becomes a long-term use rather than a short-term use is, I think, essential. Thirdly, places like Vinted and eBay, not just for clothes. I ended up getting this on eBay, but there are so many on Vinted. I just wanted this colour, and that day that colour wasn't available on eBay, and I am petty, okay? But there's so many of these sitting on Vinted right now. Let me tell you some other like unconventional things I've got off Vinted recently. Of course, I've got my e-reader, which is from Vinted. I've bought top-ups for my label maker from Vinted. I've bought envelopes and paper bags and sewing equipment And let's have a look through my recent history. Fabric patches. Oh, I got one of those data blocker stamps where you like roll over your address so nobody can read it. Headphones, board games. I got some unopened hairspray from Vinted. Like, there's literally endless amounts of stuff on there, so don't forget to check your secondhand websites for literally anything before you buy it new. I would love to hear about the vintage items you have in your life that you're still using, whether that is just like salt and pepper shakers, oven trays, like anything. Just let me know. I want to hear about the stuff that has really lasted. Maybe it's been passed down to you, maybe you found it secondhand, but I'm always fascinated because I think we have this idea that when we move into our own homes we have to get everything new, and if we need something we check Argos first before anything else, and I'm not having it. Not when beautiful things like this are sitting there out in the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you might like some of my sewing videos, or you might like some of my videos about the climate. I'm going to leave some suggested links below and on screen for stuff that you might enjoy if you liked this one. As always, thank you to the Gumption Club who let me make videos like this that aren't necessarily that interesting to the algorithm, but I think have a really fun and interesting message anyway. So thank you to them for supporting me on Patreon. Their support means that we weren't interrupted by a sponsor for this video, and that's nice, isn't it? It's been so peaceful. Here's to the inventor of Roly Kit, wherever you are. You've really added something to the universe and to my life personally. So let's all offer them a round of applause in the comments. Frog Snog out.